Betsy Braddock is getting a brand new statue. Here's your look at the new Diamond Select Gallery diorama statue of Psylocke. Psylocke, the telepathic X-Men member who found her psyche transplanted into the body of a deadly ninja assassin after the trip through the Siege Perilous. Now able to focus her considerable mental energy into a psychic knife, Psylocke uses her telepathic powers in conjunction with her martial arts abilities to protect mutant and human alike. This gallery diorama statue of Psylocke is based on her appearance in Marvel Comics. It is made of high-quality PVC and features detailed sculpting and paint applications. Before Psylocke starts cutting up the rest of your collectibles like a hot knife through butter, I'd like to thank the folks over at Diamond Select, yes I would, who did take the time and did provide the gallery diorama statue of Psylocke. And we can have a look in this review. Before we get down to the details here of this gallery statue, let's grab first the tape measure just to see how tall the statue stands. Let's flip this around first, because I like to do things first in inches. Psylocke is about 8 inches in height. Yes, she is. And to flip that around, you're looking at the statue being about 20 centimeters tall. Now, to pick up the statue, the first thing we'll have a look at is the display base that she's mounted on top of. She's actually kind of more leaning forward here as she's about to lunge onto, I guess, her victims in front of her. But you can see that she's standing on top of not the most elaborate of display bases, but one that I think works well for a statue like this. Because there's so much cooler colors happening here with Psylocke's body, I like that they kept the things very grounded when it came to the color scheme for the base. The base, as you can see, it looks like the inside of a layer, perhaps. You can see like little metal component pieces and a long tubing wire that runs along the kind of the in-between area of the canal here of the rock facing. The rock itself, if I can actually flip it upside down, in fact, looks like it's all molded here in black plastic, but it's just the touch of detail by adding just a dry brushing of the darker gray. It allows both the details of the rock and also this wire and additional circuitry to stand out. Again, it probably looks like she's inside of a lair or headquarters about to escape. Again, you've got some really cool little details, but then subtle, dark and subtle. So again, it's not going to impede and take away from the statue itself. As though we move up, you can get a closer look here at Psylocke. I'm going to spin the statue around so you can see it from all the sides. I do like the head sculpt, though the head sculpt here for Psylocke looks less like Psylocke from the comics. It looks almost more like Psylocke if we saw her from an animated series. The animated series that comes to my mind right now is Wolverine and the X-Men. If anybody remembers that cartoon, this looks very much like a Psylocke that would belong in that cartoon universe. Not necessarily saying that I dislike the head sculpt, but it does have very much more a cartoon style design for Psylocke's face. The face, though, is still pretty. You got the eyeshadow done nicely here in purple, and a different shade color used actually for the pink lips there. And you can see the eyes are very prettily, that's not even a word, outlined here nicely in black. You also got some nice little black there for her fuller looking eyebrows. The hair itself, as normally be the case in the comics, Psylocke's hair sort of has a purplish tint here. Again, it looks like it's probably done with a black plastic, and then they've dry brushed or painted on top of it the purple for the strands of the hair. It's not a completely dominating purple either. It looks under certain lit conditions like it's dark in some areas, and then you've got the lighter areas of the purple sort of shining through. Overall, again, I think it's a really nice looking head sculpt, but again, looks very much like a more animated treatment for Psylocke. As it normally would have been the case, Psylocke is carrying around a sword here. The sword is actually something that can technically be removable, although I don't know why I would necessarily want to remove it, because there's not anything that really could take its place, but you could technically take the sword out if you want to. The sword is made of fairly soft plastic, which is actually a good thing, because while taking this statue out of its plastic prison, I bent the knife, and then realizing for a second I may have broken it, happily to relieve later to realize it was a softer plastic that they would have used. I mean, again, like you can remove the sword if you really want to, but then it does leave her hand so barren and it looks like she should be holding something else. If only she also had a psychic knife that could also go then on this side, but again, I do like the idea that at least they balanced off things that she could have on either side of her body. Again, you got the psychic blade on the one side, then you've got the katana sword on the other side here. By far, my favorite thing about this statue is the color choices that they used. Not only the purple for her hair, but then the metallic blue that works so well for her suit. It's a very classic looking suit for Psylocke. Some could say a little outdated by her design, but anyone who grew up loving the designing of all the old kind of 90s comics would have loved, of course, the designing of Psylocke's suit here as well. The very nice metallic blue does quite work well for this statue. It also quite works well with the kind of skin tone that they used for her body. It's not a very bright skin tone, but it's just got the right level of shading to it, the right level of skin tone to it that works well for a character like Psylocke. And of course, then you've got the sashed belt here, which, like the katana blade, is actually made of softer plastic. I wouldn't want to be bending this too much because while it's softer down here, there is the likelihood that it could actually detach from the rest of the belt. And of course, off to the side here, not quite centered, is the X-Men logo, something, of course, she would have in her suit as well. There's stretch marks where stretch marks normally would be here on the statue, and overall the musculature is well captured here for a statue of Psylocke. Now, of course, as we spin this around, one of the other calling cards of Psylocke is the fact that she does have the psychic knife. And this is handled nicely with a translucent orange plastic. It's just the right level of translucency, too, that you can still make out the fist that's inside of that. You can actually see that her hand's underneath it. In fact, you can even see that my finger is underneath it. Really like it. It almost looks like it glows, although obviously there's not any batteries installed in this, but it does almost sort of, it looks like it has some illumination. The other thing I really like also about the statue, as I touched base on earlier when we looked at the display base, is the form and the pose that they've got her displayed in. Classic looking Psylocke, although the thing about the pose is, while it isn't so bad when you hold it like this, as I do like the profile that she has, she does, though, lean one side here. So I think in this case, she's actually a better suited statue to be looking straight forward. If you have her, though, turned to the side, she kind of does have a little bit of a leaning pose to the way that they've designed the statue. But overall, just again, a nice looking statue for Psylocke. One of which that is going to go very nicely in my collection shelf, along with the premium Psylocke statue that we looked at from Diamond Select before. Unlike that other premium statue of Psylocke that was made of resin and likely 4 times the price of what this one goes for, the gallery statue of Psylocke, though, being made of PVC plastic, also keeps the cost down low, which is good always for those new-time collectors that are getting into the statue space and don't have the available budget to get into those higher premium grade statues. It's one thing I really do like, and I commend Diamond Select for doing on a regular basis, is by producing 2 category classes for their statues. The more higher-end resin pieces, if you, again, have the budget available to pick up those, or, again, just as good and detailed, the PVC statues, like the one that we looked at here with Psylocke. Psylocke has just as many details, although in this case, Psylocke does come across a little bit more animated, whereas the one we looked at before, the premium version of Psylocke, came across more like something you'd expect to see in the comics. Not to diminish this one at all, I actually do like the more animated look for Psylocke, and while the face is a little bit more cartoonier, the rest of the body is very familiar Psylocke to me. I love the idea that they kept the costume consistent to the kind of suit that she would have worn in the 90s. In one hand, of course, she does have the removable katana, which is made again of that soft PVC plastic. And I'm glad to see that they actually use softer plastic for the sword, because that's not the one thing you would want to have breaking of the statue. As well goes for the sashed belt, is also made of the softer plastic. While the katana is removable, it doesn't appear like the psychic knife is something that is either. You can't remove it. It looks like it's permanently attached to her hand. So if you did want to have the figure displayed without it, the statue displayed without it, I don't think you can actually just remove it without damaging the hand to it. So I would just leave it as is. The colors are very comic familiar here. I love the sharp metallic blue that they use for the majority of her suit, what suit she has wearing at least. And I love the color of the purple that they chose for her hair. All in all, again, a very cost-saving, budget-saving statue of Psylocke that ends up being a great-looking statue to be putting on your shelf. If you have been collecting any of the PVC gallery statues, let me know down below in the comment section which ones you guys have in your collection space. And as well, let me go ahead and throw out a thank you once again to the folks over at Diamond Select that did take the time and did provide the gallery diorama statue of Psylocke that we had the chance to have a look at in this review. Speaking of reviews, if you don't mind hitting it with a like, if you also are enjoying the content you guys are seeing and haven't yet had the chance to do so, make sure, of course, you're hitting that subscribe button down below and that you're also turning on the bell notification. We have, though, wrapped up things, sad to say, here for Psylocke, but there's definitely going to be a lot more Diamond Select reviews and also stat reviews coming your way. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.